All right. This is going to be a very, very interesting reaction. Everybody, if you've seen Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson had a debate going on about 2 days ago. I'm not a fan of either one. I followed Candace lightly back in 2020. And then I would say I ran across Andrew Wilson through various streams. And then he showed up on whatever podcast. And I mean, he's a very, very staunch debater, very direct, but he focuses a lot of his energy debating, I guess you would say, OnlyFans models. He's very Orthodox Christian, and he's a hard ass. I'll give you that. But what's interesting with this debate, what drew my attention, these two are going at it because Candace has stirred an added conspiracy to why her best friend died. Okay, so everybody, had their opinion. What was interesting, her, and I've heard what she had to say. It was just far out. So we're gonna get into this. We're gonna lock in because I gotta break it down. What I always felt whenever I heard her, she was very emotional about it. Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, she was kind of emotional. They kind of ripped her apart. But this debate, trust me, when I watched it, I had to stop an hour in. It just gave me brain rot, like for real. Like it was just I couldn't go any further, and I have not gone any further, to be honest. I would say they they have their research, but yeah, let's jump in because I gotta speak my piece.
Admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on something, but we have a lot of respect for him. The second audience is the folks out there, you, that's watching this.
The words, they don't have evidence, they're stereotypes. I cannot. On September,
They fact checked it. So it is a very
All right, so they get their introduction by PBD, and Andrew goes into his exposition about why he feels that the evidence is solid and it corroborates Tyler Robinson as a killer. Now, I will tell you this: when I heard about it, I didn't follow Charlie Kirk. I never heard of him until he got killed. And I think a lot of people never heard of him until he got killed. Um, I've seen assassinations like this, and I paid attention to how the assassinator shoots their target. It's just when people have no idea about weapons, weapons arms, how bullets travel through the air, how wind affect bullets, how they impact objects, the body, they just go off the rails. Now, from a military experience, and I had firearms experience from handguns to basically semi-automatic to fully automatic, even a 50 cal. I know it. I know. I had to get trained to shoot up to 300 meters. That's that's the minimum for a sniper. Snipers are trained to shoot between 300 meters to 800 meters, with or without a scope. So I'm gonna break it down. The plot holes I found that Candace had. Now I give Andrew credit. He did his research, and I think he had to do his research because Candace has a very strong following. I see in her comment section, it's all Candace supporters. I was the only one that said something opposite because I know my weapons and my bullets. I know how they operate, and I know, you got to be really good at what you do. When it comes to aiming, you got to take into account when. So he had to, because if he didn't have reasons to back up what he believed Candace would have destroyed him, because she is a very staunch debater too, like he is. She is solid, and she doesn't back down on what she believes, and neither does he. So he had to come in with evidence, because one of the biggest things now with debates, everybody wants stuff fact checked, because everybody spins whatever. So, like I said, first half,
Very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now the last 10 minutes.
He goes into his exposition.
That they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
Let's go back a step.
Enforcement has been fully supportive, and I have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind, because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to the security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information has ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September.
Now, you have to understand, everybody who was a MAGA supporter, America's First supporter, and Trump supporter, after Trump had 2 attempts on his life, one in Pennsylvania and one on his Mar-a-Lago resort, everybody was definitely shooken up. Trump had a target on his back. Everybody around him pretty much were fully aware they would have a target on their back if they uttered this man's name, if they pushed this man's narrative. Everybody knows. They tried it the first time. I think he had about 2 to 3 attempts in his life his first term. Coming in, he had 2, and then they had several light attempts at the White House, which no one talks about, because again, if you don't pay attention to the headlines, you're going to miss it. So to be honest, a lot of times people look at who else can they target that could hurt or send a message. Well, Charlie Kirk, probably one of the biggest names out there with the least amount of protection, was a prime target. And then we all know we had the incident not too long ago where they rushed the White House dinner, or he rushed the White House dinners, and again, conspiracy spilling out of that. Look, again, if you know the hotel or the place of business, if you properly case the place of business, if you have ways to get in and talk to people and connections, you can, you know, take advantage of loopholes even national security would have. And just by the footage they showed, which they try to debunk, but the footage they showed, and this is what's obvious, and I see this a lot with security, even with police officers, they're on their phone. They're not even paying attention. He knew that, and it was obvious. If I was him, I would have ran through myself, because if I'm seeing officer security on their phone not paying attention, I'm gonna blast through. I've tested it on the road. I blew by parked police officers on the freeway going maybe 10, 15 over. I blow by them, look at my rear view, they didn't even budge. But what I noticed when I was passing by, their head is looking down. They either sleep or on their phone, they ain't paying attention. So yes, he was able to run through the NSA security plus the metal detector and keep going until they realized it was too little too late, and then they was able to stop it. And then you saw how long it took to get the National Guard. It was so much chaos because they were caught off guard. They didn't have time to call National Guard. So yeah, and people want to say, oh, it's fake. Nah, he planned it perfectly. This guy paid attention. Whenever you want to know about the environment you're about to enter, you have to pay attention to that environment. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. We was taught in the military to study the environment, study your enemy, pay attention to your own environment. And so, yes, Charlie Kirk probably was fully aware that there was danger coming. Even now his wife is already aware. Perhaps Charlie Kirk was getting death threats. A lot of people who were MAGA supporters were getting death threats, who were big name people. But again, you know, people want to assume whatever, you know, it's just crazy.
9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said. that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe
And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Democratic supporters do get blamed for this, but you have to remember there are Republican supporters who also had assassination attempts on Democrats. Obama had several. I mean, there were smart attempts because a lot of them tried to use drones. But, you know, I think what draws the attention to more Republicans is that they are, one, warmongers. Number two, they promise to offer change for the American people, but then they start shifting towards helping the businesses and the corporate people or foreign countries first. And then at the last minute, then they throw the American people breadcrumbs and just scraps to shut them up. When the Democrats get in office, they try to keep their promise, but the thing that's never really brought up is the Republicans always create a stopgap. And so the Democrats and Republicans are fighting in the House and the Senate to get stuff passed. No one talks about that, but if you pay attention, it happens every time. Obama was the only one that exposed that, put the Republicans on blast. Every time he was trying to get something done, they'd stop it. He put them on blast. And it's kind of why that helped boost his credibility more, because he put on blast people who opposed what he felt would help the American people. And to this very day, he's probably still one. I'm gonna have to say he went from the top 5 to the top 2 most popular presidents, despite his minor flaws and what people may think. But every time this man goes out, he is most revered. In fact, it's crazy how as much hate like the black culture shows him, and there's a split down the middle with white culture, and then I'm not sure about Latinos and Asians, but every time this man comes out, everybody rather listen to him than Trump. In fact, they were saying if Trump does run for a 3rd term, they'd rather Obama run for a 3rd term. I mean, there's several reasons why.
I have more never before seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far. Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, because the trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas
And if anybody doesn't know what a patsy means, it's basically somebody is used to do something that will criminalize the person. That basically makes somebody more like the middleman. You know, that's all it really is. Just, you know, somebody who's being used. They would consider that like a soy boy in today's terms, basically. It's more of an Italian word, to be honest. If you watch Italian films, you'll hear it a lot more in Italian films than American films, you know, so that's kind of what it means. I watched a lot of Italian films, and it's used, and trust me, Italian films are pretty good. There's a lot of assassination going on there too, so, you know.
my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson is overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all in the speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like, but if I'm honest, The reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class.
And why he's making that statement right now, to be clear, why he feels the way she feels about, let's just say, conspiracy theorists, is that their excuse right now, compared to conspiracies back then, the government has been exposed for lying. Now, what's funny is conspiracies generally were a form of a lie and a cover-up at the time, but people were fed this, and they didn't have open source resources to look stuff up called the internet. Well, at least they did, but it just took a while for people to think outside the narrative and start looking things up. Now, let's just say the new generation, when they hear something that is of interest and then they see something is being said opposite of what they believe, they're going to go look it up. Like, for instance, Nolan Wells case, and that is definitely a conspiracy. Why I say it's a conspiracy? Because it's turning into a massive cover-up, and you have 3 guys, up to 4, the same guys, dropping inconsistent interviews. I called it out the first time, and usually when you have conspiracies, the story always constantly changes in small nuances, and that's what these guys are doing. I noticed it when he started speaking. He started every sentence stuttering over the first 3 words. Every time he started a new sentence. That's how you know someone's lying. And then when you formulate the story strung into another formulated story and another, it's not a solid story, it's formulated, it turns into a conspiracy, because then when you ask the question again, the story changes. Same thing with alien conspiracies. It was always a different story every time. So now the new generation have options to look stuff up. Now they are exposing, government covers things up. And people have been saying that for decades. And no one believes the government would cover stuff up because we were supposed to be protected by the government. When I got in the military, I saw so much cover up. I even had, in fact, my first question I had to I believe he was either an E5 or lieutenant. I asked him, like, how, because he looked a little frustrated. He was, I guess he was in his mid-20s or 30s, but he looked frustrated. I said, how do you like the Army? He said, it's all right. I just, he's like, I'm ready to get out of here. I said, why? He said, because of the politics. Right there, let me know, when you add politics into something that's supposed to have a movement, now you messing with conspiracy cover-up. Because when things get political, now you're starting to pull in favoritism. And that's the problem. Like, what I didn't like with Candace's point of view is she has a favoritism towards her best, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's so strong. Despite the evidence, she feels like it's the complete opposite. And yeah, there were some things that happened, and I'm going to get to it later. But one of the things that she doesn't understand when it comes to certain assassinations, when you start having decoys, you start having bait to mislead investigations, you just outsmarted the investigation team and everything. The same thing with, let's just say, the Vegas shooter. He outsmarted them. Not only that, he understood wind direction, wind speed, and he knew the type of scope to use. And that's how he was able to pick the most farthest but the closest building that angled in the view he needed, and he was popping all shots over 300 meters. I think they were saying up to 800 meters. And he found out, I think he was prior Marine, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go look at it, but he was a good sniper. And he barricaded his room. And I think the other thing they did find out that he had a couple of decoys, made it hard for them to trace anything back. And they finally ran into a girlfriend and asked him, and guess what? She had no idea, zero. And so it left it open to conspiracies. They didn't understand how this man could do so. He had no criminal back, nothing. He left no trail, zero. Open conspiracy, but eventually died out because we had other mass shootings after that. So there is a method of baiting authorities, decoys. Even Mario Majani did the same thing, but he kind of decided to give up. He had a trail of bait to throw the investigation off. He even had people to speak up in case he got caught. So, I just felt like she's just so keen on her friend. It's like she's willing to believe anything to exonerate his death based off of what she feels. And sadly, if y'all heard by now, she has a distaste for his wife and everybody at TPUSA, and she, she has some ill will towards him, and she's kind of like shifting the blame to them, which is strange. And she's also including Israel, which, I mean, come on, Israel may have a hand in certain things, but they don't have a hand in everything. Like, let's be real. We have a serious MAGA, now America First, now nationalist and Christian nationalism problem. We have our own problems that is causing people to shoot each other. This has got nothing to do with Israel. Like, I'm gonna make that clear right now. It's got nothing to do with Israel. I don't know why we want to blame Israel for everything.
She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building. And she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000. But today, I hope that she finds the answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew. Candace?
Get it out of your system.
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and I will just speak to the audience. I've obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie.
That right. That's just mention it. That's what I'm talking about. So instead of backing up her upcoming claims, she's skipping. She calls a preamble, and she wants to make it known that she has a solid following, enough to make it like her point of view is valid. Meaning, whatever she says in this debate, she has enough people to support her debate, her ideals, and her information, and her perspective. So if Andrew does not have enough research and fact checks, it would make him look bad in a debate, plus the massive following she has will overshadow his. And he doesn't have much of a following, but it will overshadow his. And it's probably, she looked up his following and she probably strategically said what she said because he doesn't have a massive following. I mean, because he's kind of an asshole on camera. 2 women mainly. Now, it doesn't mean Candace doesn't have a 50% anti-following either, because there's a lot of people who don't care for her either. I mean, I felt she was a fraud as far as influencer and commentary, because what I noticed in that 2020 range between 2020 and 2022, there was a lot of commentators that was spinning stuff that was already reported by the news. She was one of them, and it was just like, you're already reporting something that's been reported, and now you're trying to add more commentary that you just researched to make yourself sound smart. And then when they jump into these debates, they just regurgitated what they just looked up. And that's why I didn't get into that commentator space right away, because I noticed what they were doing. Because I was looking at the same stuff they were regurgitating between X and the headlines. I still see the headlines. So what I tend to do is, instead of regurgitate it verbally, I'll clip it. Because it's already been done. Read it for yourself. Or I'll reshare it. here it is. Why do I need to regurgitate and make it like I sound smarter than the average reporter or journalist? Like that doesn't make any sense. So she wants it to be known, as you just saw, she has a massive following that will back up everything that she will say in this debate, period. And she has a staunch position because of her best friendship with Charlie. Best. I mean, so that also solidifies that her concerns is even twice as more valid because that was her best friend. Like, best, like, in the story, that was my best friend. I'm concerned about this, because that was, that's my close, that's like blood, that's like family. That's what she's trying to say. Which, again, it's very dangerous to think like that, because then if someone actually did, let's just say someone actually did murder him and they couldn't find the killer, now you just going off the rails, not waiting for the investigative team to find out who killed him. They found out who, in fact, he had a decoy, and I'll show you what I mean by a decoy, which again, that never came up, and it has not come out of her mouth, which is shocking, because it was the first thing I heard after he was killed. They found several people proclaiming they were the shooter. She has yet to even bring that up, which is very interesting. But that's where the conspiracy started too. That's where the hole started falling through.
And diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th by throwing it to, this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this,
and it's a shame, because now that's the new narrative. Because the government lies, because Trump has lied, and he has blamed media for lying, but now the media is the one. It's kind of fucked up, because the media is still broadcasting the same shit, regardless of what you may think. They have not changed their narratives. It's the same. Now he's trying to pull in social media podcasters, and now he's turning around blaming them. You see the irony in that? So who's really lying? And then again, second term, he is covering up a lot of shit, and he's been lying the whole 2 terms. And it's like, has anybody caught on to this yet? It's now they're now realizing, going into midterms, that he never had any intentions to help the American people at all. It was just to get him in the office and make himself a figurehead, famous, again, rich. Just if you look at his past, he was going bankrupt. So he spun a lie with the government to get achievements. And now, now everybody's like, oh, no, he's a liar. Everybody else in the past was a liar. It's like, dude, like, come on. That doesn't, guarantee, like, the government is a big lie, so you can't believe everything they say and do. Some of the things they do is legit. Some of the things they say is legit. And, there are moments where they have press teams tied to certain people. If there is a liar in the midst, the other side who wants the truth let out is going to release it to the press. Sometimes they're called whistleblowers. I mean, come on now. Yes, the government has been known to conspire. And I'm saying this again, the alien theory is the biggest conspiracies the government cooked up. Look it up, Area 51.
Been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone, is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running the podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes, like I'm Miss Cleo, and that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers, it looks like $1 billion industry of influencers, to dispute everything Candace says. Is not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just...
They're not trying to spend time to dispute everything Candace is saying. A lot of people are very smart, for one. A lot of people have common sense, number 2. A lot of people actually are gun owners. Some of them are in the military. Some of them are law enforcement. The list goes on. Some of them even know what law enforcement have to go through, the investigative teams, the DA, the attorney, the judges. Like, come on. And that's the problem I have with this argument she's trying to say. There are people who are fully aware how the system works, and she's bucking against the system in an emotional sense. And I get it. She lost a good friend. I get it. But geez, let them do their job first. And even if you feel like there's too many holes, which that's gonna happen when it comes to assassination attempts, if the person planned it out right. And believe me, usually the younger the person, the more they're gonna have decoys. The older they are, they're just gonna go straight in, head in, and either ghost themselves or allow themselves to get arrested. But again, she's not looking at the broad picture at this. She's, letting her emotions get to her.
Presented a text message and said, "This is evidence." Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be, strangely, to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk when nobody.
And so Benjamin Netanyahu did come and speak on that because, again, for the last several years, in fact, they're saying between 2018 and 2020, there's been a rise in anti-Semitism, and it's been increasing. I'm pretty sure Benjamin Netanyahu is getting tired of getting blamed for a lot of stuff. Now, yes, they're getting blamed for what happened in Gaza, now Palestine, now Lebanon, but some of the internal stuff, I'm pretty sure he's getting tired of hearing that. Whether he has agents or there's actual individual Jews outside of the government that do what they do, like, I can't think of his name. In fact, I was seeing his tweet earlier. Hold on. Nah, I gotta pull his ass up for what's my other phone at? I got too many phones around here. Oh, wait. Oh, all right. Yeah, I remember. Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro has his own agenda. And that's strange. I can't. Oh, there it is. Under my tablet. Anyway, Ben Shapiro, he has dual citizenship. And he's Israeli and American. He has his own agenda. Whether he's got a little connection to Benjamin Netanyahu or not, he has his own agenda. Netanyahu would shoot him down if he said, "Oh, well, I know, resident of Israel," but nah, he would get shot down. So it's, again, like I said earlier, it's funny how they still want to say Israel is tied to a lot of killings and this, that, and the third. They even say Israel is tied to JFK's killing. And again, as old as that was, here's the problem. And I'm just going to digress on this, because this is my opinion from what I saw based on added history. There was a civil rights movement, right? The prior president, I forgot who it was, it might have been Nixon, didn't want to deal with it. Now, I could be wrong if it was Nixon. So when Kennedy came in during the civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King had his speech and then was killed, Kennedy decided to go ahead and put into law black people and other immigrants who were also getting racially discriminated against and ruined. Of course, that part's been wiped out because they're trying to whitewash those who are at least white enough to be included, which were most of the Asians, and our Asians are talking about it now. They're coming out and saying it. But he was trying to put in the law everybody will have equal rights. That was the topic back then, not Israel. That. He was killed soon after he was trying to put in law black Americans would have civil rights. That was the narrative. So we had MLK get shot, then JFK get shot. And the sad thing is when JFK got shot, all hell broke loose. So I think it was a vice president who took office, had to hurry up and sign to get the black people some civil rights in hopes the unrest would settle, which it didn't. It took a while for it to settle. That was the narrative back then. It was back to back. It was obvious. It had nothing to do with Israel. Even if JFK had issues with what Israel was doing, which Biden had it, Obama had it. I think maybe Clinton had it, but I'm hearing two different things now. But I mean, No one got killed over Israel. Nobody. Nobody. It's all of a sudden new narrative now because they're seeing how, like what Kanye first said, there's a round of Jews in the business sector, just like they were in Germany and after Germany's fall, that is, you know, coming to rise. That was all what Kanye was trying to say, and they dismissed him, called him crazy. Now they see it with Trump. So that's about really, in my opinion, that's really happening. There's a lot of Jews gaining business power instead of political power in this country. Now there's a lot of students I feel who have a past with that anti-Semite situation because when I saw what they did to the Iranian supreme leader and they explained how they did it, I was like, the only way for them to do what they did was to come here in the United States to learn that. That's the only way. That's the only way and the only time you can say, yes, Israel had a hand in a certain type of assassination. They learned what they learned here, guaranteed.
Was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happened immediately after.
Okay, here's the plot hole. This is probably my second or third plot hole I'm going to debunk that she's saying. She wants to say, in an emotional sense, and this is where emotional damage really kicks into high gear. You saw it in the beginning. She wants to say that the exposure of his shift about Israel was not with Tucker Carlson, but with a general rise of letting that be known. The thing is what Andrew is trying to say is, when he came on Tucker Carlson's show, which had a higher view rate, it was the most exposed media topic at that time. So to the general public, it looked like on Tucker Carlson's show, he was letting it be known his change in stance globally. Because again, Tucker was popular on Fox. And when he quit Fox, that escalated his views and his following. And when he started his channel, all the followers of Tucker from Fox shifted to his channel. And he continues to be a mouthpiece for those who come on his show. So if you don't know anything about certain people, you're not going to know until they're interviewed on Tucker Carlson's show if you're a follower of his. That's all he was trying to say. He wasn't trying to say, oh, he changed his mind on Tucker Carlson's show. It was known on Tucker Carlson's show. He was changing his stance. Because again, no one follows politics like that. It doesn't matter when he started changing. We don't follow people like that. We could care less. But again, this is where she gets very defensive because she wants people to know that, oh, well, I knew when he was changing his stance and everybody else who was in our circle knew before he went to Tucker Carlson's show. Great, congratulations. Applause, but like, holy fucking shit. Did y'all bring that up before he went to Tucker Carlson's show? Because guess what? I'm going to tell you this right now. If Candace had brought this up, if she knew about it, then it would have been on her show, not his. So, you know, it's almost like she's taking it in a certain type of way that Tucker Carlson got first dibs on exposing Charlie Kirk's stance than she did. You know what I'm saying? It sounds a little personal in that aspect. And I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion because, like, again, a lot of people don't care when they go on somebody's show and announce it. They just are glad to hear, hey, they announced it. They could care less how it began or end. They just, oh, he changed his stance. Great. I believe him or not. That's all they care about, you know?
And then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that. Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we
Again, see, you see how she's trying to show there was more people before Tucker, but keep this in mind. Let's see if I can rewind back a little bit.
Reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel, we wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. That he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was.
See, as you can see, she's trying to say it wasn't because he went on Tucker Carlson's show, but she's spinning it a little bit. She knows how to spin words to make it sound intelligent.
A part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself.
Again, she wants to say, started on PBD's podcast. Who the fuck watches PBD podcast? Like, come on now. In fact, the reason why they're not a big name like that is because they started in the red pill space, so to speak, interviewing people who are in the red pill space. And then, to be honest, PBD podcast got exposed for being a business scam, or a business triangle scheme. So that, I mean, his reputation is no better, along with his whole team. Like, come on, like nobody's not gonna take that serious. They're starting to come up a little bit, but PBD podcast is making it somewhat of a high-profile debate on his show because she's a big name on one end and he's kind of a big name on the other. He has been on Uncensored by Piers Morgan, but again, take that with a grain of salt because that was a cluster F or a cluster fuck, you know. But PBD podcast is trying to get their reputation up by doing this, and I guess it's doing okay. I'm surprised it didn't really. It's not getting the rapid attention as I suspected it would, being that this is Candace, so that goes to show you she is losing interest in people versus, let's just say, Andrew Tate. Oh, that man, when he got arrested, what a firestorm of headlines on YouTube. Everybody was covering that. Everybody, like instantly. That's sad. You got a man who's considered a sex trafficker on the porn side and a woman abuser. He got more fame than her. That's crazy.
More questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with.
See? Now she wants to admit Tucker Carlson comes out. He comes out. He's a reporter. He's gonna have more connections than her, to be honest.
Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms.
Megyn Kelly, another one. Megyn Kelly has a bad reputation. Another Fox anchor, former journalist, bad reputation. Who's gonna watch her ass? I think I seen maybe 2 shows of her, and it was just like, it was cringe. I'm sorry, it was cringe. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, she took a tour to an Indian conference, and she got roasted on stage by the racist things she said about Indian people. It was embarrassing. I think I recorded it live, but it was embarrassing. They ripped her to shreds. And then she tried to do damage control to say, like, she's not racist. She's just trying to support the American ideals, American people, and America first. Fuck out of here. Like, I'm sorry. But again, who's going to take her seriously? Another nobody.
The private conversations that she had with Charlie, people then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we lying about this?
Okay. PBD podcast, her, and Megyn. Out of those 3, no one took it seriously. They're not the most watched. And even with her, did she say she had him on her show to bring us out? No, she didn't. She would have had the most credibility to broadcast her emotions and feelings if she had him on the show about the stance on Israel. No, she didn't. It begs the question, how close of a friend were you guys? Why did he go to Tucker Carlson and PBD podcast? But now PBD podcast, I know they invite people. Now Tucker, he probably wouldn't go on Tucker's show because he's got a bigger reputation than her. Or he probably saw they would believe Tucker than they would believe her. Because look what she's doing. I mean, at least in my eyesight, in hindsight, she's off the rails, yo. I don't care what people say. I seen it coming. The way she was going in debates, it was even cringe year by year by year.
They were forthcoming with that, and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today.
Everybody was like, come on, everybody was. I questioned Israel like when I was a kid, because like seriously, they were trying to say they're the chosen people by God, but you slaughtering people, make that make sense. And then if you hear the word Jews straight out the gate, you already know that the Jews had Jesus killed. So what makes them the chosen people? Huh? And here's the next thing I noticed. If Jews had the king of Jews killed, why aren't we using their religion? We're using Christianity and Catholicism as the main religion, and it's spread across the world. Not Judaism, Christian and Catholic religions. So that was like, okay, there's something wrong with them. Because if they were supposedly, that righteous and they're the chosen people, which they still trying to say today, why did you have your king killed? You know what I mean? And again, people don't even look up Jewish history at all. It's just shame they don't look it up. In fact, I looked up Semite, and I made a video on this. It goes all the way back. When Israel, the actual Israelites, were moving into the land where the Judahites were, the Jews as you want to call them, where the Canaanites were, all those people in that land, God was moving the Israelites in there to kick them out. It's another story for another day if I go deeper into that. But you should read it. It's right there in the Bible. And then look up where Semites come from. And then you'll find out why they use the word Semitism. So it's like, if you're watching what this little small country's doing, the people are doing, then yes, you would question what are they doing if they trying to say they are the chosen people. Like, come on now. Even in the New Testament, Jesus had an issue with the Jews fighting with the neighboring cultures in Rome. It's right there. There's something wrong with them, Now, maybe not all of them, but there's something wrong with them in general. And that's why I'm like, we should have been questioning this.
But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling.
Now, I will validate that. That's not a plot hole. People do have a tendency to have premonitions. Sometimes it's just a consciousness. And sometimes your body will react to, like sis say, okay, she was getting a lot of text messages, right? That, he felt his life was being threatened. He said it himself. He felt like his life was being threatened. There's two things. When you hear something enough and you start believing it, your mind's going to recreate it. The other side is there's points in a person where if their spiritual level is high enough, they will actually have an event in a dream that they never experience, never, about something that's going to occur in the future, and then it happens. And they call that premonition. And most people take advantage of that, and they want to be, truthsayers and like Miss Cleo. I forgot what they call them now, because that shit's wild. But it's a special gift, and it's a special occurrence you shouldn't take advantage of. I'm just going to say it like that, because it's a rare thing, but you got to understand how the mind works. Because a lot of times, if you see or hear something repeatedly, your mind will recreate it into an event. A lot of it will come into a dream. So I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk had dreams he was going to die. I'm pretty sure his wife. So there's nothing wrong with what she said. I'm pretty sure they were texting each other. It's just the way she probably was saying it made people like,
the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers. They're not accepting the Fed slap. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe.
Now, here's another emotional damage plot hole here. She still is having an issue with Turning Point USA, and this is what I'm saying. Whatever issue she has with them, she still got them as a target. I don't really believe Turning Point USA had a hand in this, especially if it's a 22-year-old. Like, come on. Now, unless he worked for Turning Point USA, yes. Like, to be honest, if Turning Point USA wanted their CEO killed, that whole organization would be under investigation. They would have got his wife, like low key. Like, she's not thinking this out. Whenever they're trying to get rid of somebody inside of an organization, they get rid of the entire family pretty much, if they can get to both. That's how it's always been. That's what I don't understand. How does she not understand murder cases? It's especially, I'm just gonna say this, as a black woman, whether she lives in a city or not, live near a city or around a city, I'm pretty sure she's heard of the shootings in the city. Because when I grew up hearing shootings in the city and seeing it on the news, when they were going after somebody and they were in a certain spot near family, they shot everybody. I mean, I've heard drive-bys where they were going after one person, they shot everybody in that spot. Everybody. No witnesses. They do it at parties. Mass shootings, same thing. They go after everybody they want to go after, which again, they don't talk about that. That's why I don't understand. Why accuse an organization of getting rid of their CEO when it would incriminate them? The whole organization, like, come on now. That's what she's not thinking. And that's why I'm calling her out on that. She's not thinking. She needs to go watch some murder cases on news feeds and broadcasts and headlines and look at how, especially in the city, look at how a lot of people were killed, family-wise. And if she don't want to dig that up, watch some foreign film where they have, gang violence, where they kill the whole family. That's in foreign film. They don't shy away from it. They show it. Like, it's like insane. Like, why would an organization take themselves down like that? That's some cult shit, to be honest. I think only one cult did. Well, no, it was two, if I remember. Can't think of the names, but I think one was in Texas. I know an artist named Skin. She made a song about the one that killed his entire congregation in Africa. Jim Jones, I think it's called. Her song is called Jim Jones. Yeah, that's what organizations do when they want to. He was investigated. So instead of allowing the FBI to take him out, he took himself out with the whole congregation. Now, that's a little opposite of what she's trying to say, but that's just an example. When one's going down, they're taking everybody down. They don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy how she wants to say the whole organization is on it. She gonna try to say his wife is in on it. I'm like, oh my, and that's where I think people really was like, yeah, we like pump the brakes here. And man, come on. And it's looking sloppy. She's arguing with his wife on public TV and everything. That's crazy. I don't care if they didn't have a good relationship, but show some restraint. Keep that shit to yourself, like, for real.
Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Cole, that he's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity.
And again, that's another punch at him. That's another jab at him. Emotional damage. I should have had an emotional damage counter to show you how much emotional damage she is holding in. I mean, it's just crazy. In fact, here's my thing. She's got such a powerful following. Why don't she go interview TPUSA people who are willing to interview? Like, why don't she go do it? She probably knows she's gonna get roasted. I guarantee she's gonna get ate the fuck up.
From 0 to 100, what is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know, I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at
Another plot hole. That is fucking crazy. That is crazy. She said
0%.
0%.
Place maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Cole, that he's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know, I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
fucking 0. Like, come on, man. Now, I'm going to show why she can come to that conclusion, but what is pathetic, when I watched that, she did not say why the whole time. She just kept saying he was a patsy. None of the evidence added up. The text messages, well, she didn't even have no evidence of text messages that he had submitted. She claimed that she talked to immediate friends and family, but then no evidence. And yet Andrew did fact checking along with everybody else, has text messages. I think they put the text messages out there and she didn't even reference any of it. She tried to say, no, it ain't real. It's crazy. And again, I'm going to show you something that started this conspiracy theory and she doesn't even touch on it. And it's crazy she didn't bring this part up. But I'm going to show you towards the end. Because I'm not going to go through this whole thing. This is like 3 hours long. And trust me, I stopped paying attention maybe about 30 minutes in. And every time she spoke, that's when I paid attention. Whenever I heard in the background what Andrew said, I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, he had to research and he's on point because I concur with everything he's saying.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him, you're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. If you said, was he involved that day, as I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any?
That's insane. That's insane. So he wasn't a shooter, but she can't explain what role he had in it. And she never does explain it. That's what's crazy. Now, she brings up somebody else's name, which I'm scratching my head on. I think it was his boyfriend or something. But it's like, it doesn't fit. That's the shooter. She doesn't mention this other guy. I'm going to get to it.
Evidence for it.
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on.
Yo, that's. This is where it gets cringe. This is like when she said that part, I was about to stop the whole stream. I was like, I can't with this. I can't. I can't.
And the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from.
Yeah, but
Losi.
just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile hit Charlie.
Another plot hole. I'm struggling to keep going with this live. See, this is where it just, she falls apart horrifically. Okay. Now, conspiracy theory on the table. We all just seen the caption. That's why I put them up there. I want you to read what she's saying, even though AI can't keep up with every word. She believes he was not shot by Tyler. Now she believes he wasn't shot with a bullet. Let that sink in for a second. She flips it to, oh, I think it was some type of projectile. Let that marinate for a second. what other projectile could you even use? And I looked it up. I think it was around 140 somewhat meters. Okay. What projectile can you use that can fly that far with some accuracy besides a bullet? Let that sink in for a second. Because I'm not sure what millennia or century she's living in, but to be honest, I was waiting for her to say, I think it was probably like a dart or a bow and arrow or a crossbow. I swear to God, I thought she was on some stupid shit like that. A dart or a dart gun. I thought, man, this is like I said, it's emotional damage, bad.
And I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun?
Wait. See, here's another one. This is like just an open fucking chasm. It's like she got a wormhole of a plot hole going on right now. Notice what she just said. She don't believe he was shot, but he was shot by a projectile of some description. So in other words, instead of believing he was sniped, she wants to say he was shot by some type of bullet described like a bullet, but it wasn't a bullet. Again, let that sink in. What other projectile could have been? Like, I mean, seriously, I'll give you something like there's grenades, and I'm talking about the grenades that are shaped like bullets. But those things are so big. If he was to fire that, he would have hit him at 145 meters or 148. Because I shot one. It's MK12. That whole stand would have blew up. It would have been a concussion round. They would have had more casualties. You probably would have had nobody to even pull on a gurney. A dart wouldn't have made it that far. You would have had to have a dart gun. Or like maybe those dart guns or spear guns you use for fishing underwater. Like again, this is what got me. And I was really this was the point I wanted to just stop and watch something else. But again, I wanted to see how far she was going to go with her theory. And believe me,
6, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Valhalla steel cages and shot it and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30.
yeah, they said he had Superman neck, but the problem was it pierced his neck, and there's evidence people saw blood. So I mean, I don't know where that came from. I mean, either way, even if someone thought he had a Superman neck, they would have used the armor piercing round, just straight up. And what she's trying to say, a steel cage, or I forgot what she said. Let me make sure exactly what she said.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Valhalla steel cages and
Steel cages. See, that's again another plot hole that falls apart. First of all, if she understood armored vehicles, armored plating, they don't just make steel cages. If they use steel, they fold the steel to where it's thick enough to where it slows down the bullet, but it doesn't slow it down enough. That's why they started making Kevlar. Kevlar is known to at least stop a bullet if it's thick enough. I had a Kevlar plate. It was, I think, about a half an inch thick. And, you know, to be honest, as thin as I saw it and I had to wear it, I didn't think that would stop anything, but whatever. But they use Kevlar now. And even with that, if they use armor-piercing rounds, there's a very likely chance it's going through Kevlar armored, up armored anything, especially if they start changing the tip to diamond tip, titanium tip, carbonite tip, because they can change the tip. If they use diamond tip bullets, it's over with. I know those are expensive if they even do those. That's why it's like, again, she's going off of a YouTuber who probably had to build his own cage, because again, you can't illegally you can't really get armored anything like that unless you have a license. So you have to construct something. And she's going off of a YouTuber who is testing bullets to see how well it can pass through steel. And again, you like the military up armored and armored vehicles, you have to have military grade, like basically like what Elon claims his Cybertruck is. It's stainless steel. He claims it's bulletproof, but I'm pretty sure it's thick enough, folded thick enough to withstand bullets to a degree. Now it does rust. And the sad thing is when steel starts rusting, it starts to deteriorate. It starts to lose its density. So I mean that's not even valid. Like, come on. It would have been better if the YouTuber actually shot bullets at a up armored Humvee. I've driven those. They're thick as hell. They have an undercarriage that's thick to sustain IED explosions, which a lot of times they don't withstand those type of explosions, but it's enough to at least maybe keep half your body alive. Because they've been known shrapnel still goes through those. Most Humvee incidents with IEDs, usually they still lose a body part. So that's another plot hole. Now, the man is still there. Again, I don't know where that came from. I thought that was bullshit, because no one has survived bullets unless they had a bulletproof vest. But most of the time, if you get shot above the neck up because you're not wearing proper gear, which, again, you're just going to protect your chest, you still got a brain, or your neck. You're out. You're done for. And he knew. If he was at least conscious that Charlie Kirk probably would have had a bulletproof vest with the security detail, of course he would have aimed for the neck. Not only is it lightly cleaner, it wouldn't have been so obvious. If he aimed for the head, it would have been more obvious. So yeah, that's another one. I have to shoot her down on that one. I'm sorry. That is a fly.
Shot it and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A 30-06 or low C, 150 feet. No.
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all?
With maybe a smaller
caliber? Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more.
And the next problem, the way they said the bullet, they claim it hit the microphone and still made it through his neck. If it was a smaller caliber, there's two things that would happen. One, if it was a smaller caliber, it would have been much more lethal at a longer distance, and it would have flew faster. Number two, if it was a smaller caliber based on the shell case size, if it hit the podium, it probably would have been deflected, just slightly. It would have missed course and maybe would have missed his neck, like Trump. Trump's bullet, well, not his bullet, but the bullet that was going for Trump. Because the wind shifted the bullet, I don't remember what caliber he was using, but it might have been not enough weight to it. The wind shifted it, so it pierced his ear very little. If he had good wind conditions, or if he had measured wind conditions and aimed a little more to the right to compensate for the curvature, he would have had a dead face, dead center. Not point blank, but dead center in his face. So a smaller caliber would have done two things. It would have either got deflected hitting the microphone podium, if that's what they were saying, which, they were saying that they found fragments of metal, or it would have flew even faster and it would still went through his neck. Same damage. So again, you could tell she has no idea about weaponsmithing, bullets, nothing. And I don't think she even looked. That's what she didn't even look it up. I don't think she not one time looked it up.
That's on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant, and have seen the receipts. I know the conversation that I had, and
That statement almost created another plot hole for me to where I felt like she almost made that up because she paused trying to find her words. You either seen the receipts or you didn't. Number two, what receipts did you see, or are you just using it as a term? You were speaking about the timestamp of when the meal was purchased, and you saw the date on the receipt. Because again, like, did you take a picture of it? She could have did that. And honestly, I'm kind of wondering how they would even allow that, because that's privacy. But she probably tried to say, I'm an investigator. I don't know. But it's almost like they probably didn't take her seriously and thought it would be a violation of the investigation. So they may have pulled it up on the screen, maybe, but not. I don't think they showed her a physical receipt. And that's why it's like she had to catch herself right there. That's, again, another plot hole. Because watch what happens.
I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial.
Well, she's already said, "Oh, I think that's enough." Like really?
But yes, I do believe that he was in Penguich, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy.
See, got him. She got. Like, that's that gotcha bitch moment right there. And then she says, I've seen an unedited copy. There's no such thing as an unedited copy. It's a receipt. You're either going to have the paper copy or you're going to have it on the computer. Nowadays, it's usually on the computer. There is no such thing as unedited. You can't edit a transaction that's already in the system. Once you purchase, you cannot edit that. Even if you give the person wrong change, it's already printed up. I was a cashier. Let that be known right now. I was a cashier. Once you type in that transaction, it's in solid digital record. You cannot go back and change anything. You can only refund it, and they'll put a negative, and that's it. So where she got that from, I don't know. But there's no such thing as unedited copy.
A copy of that receipt was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you.
Now, you see how she's now backpedaling and trying to catch him off guard and throwing up the barrier to keep him from fact-checking her? She's trying to cover her plot hole. She's trying to cover her ass. She's getting defensive because she doesn't have no solid evidence. Like I said, she probably was shown on a computer. And she don't want to be called out.
You think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is? Since
Well, I think that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute, and that's why I'm.
yeah, but we're trying to get to whether there's over.
He was very smart to pinpoint that. He was very smart because, like I said, when I watched this, well, before I watched this, knowing how he debates, I knew he had to get solid evidence to defend himself against her direct debating tactics and her defensiveness. So I'm glad he prepared his facts and his research for this, because she, like, straight out the gate, she was already shooting him down for his exposition. She's already shooting him down, calling him, oh, they sent you. No one sent him. In fact, I heard he wanted to debate her. It just took a while. So I guess that's why he offered $300,000. That's insane. I saw somebody want to say he's broke because he had a he had a crowdfunding account to get money, but now I see why. Because damn, 300,000, like, yo, that's crazy. You gotta bait her to sit down to explain herself. That is sad. And here's the thing. This is why I'm gonna bring this up. This is why she tried to defend herself against, well, she says what she says to make money. That was the same complaints people were throwing at her, and that's what she was talking about. They were trying to shoot her down in her defense against how Charlie died because they felt she was trying to make money. And even Pierce Morgan pulled up the charts on her views. And I think he pulled up the YouTube payout. He said it was in the millions because based on her views. And she went through, oh, I didn't get paid. Bro, with her following and her view consistency, she's getting paid, period. Doesn't matter how, she's getting paid. And now she's coming into this debate with, what is it, a ransom? That's fucking crazy. And that's why she's shooting him down. I wanted to bring that up. Like I said, there's a lot of plot holes I can nail it with. And I left a comment, and this is on her channel. I left 2 comments. Someone tried to challenge me, and I said, I can shoot her down myself. I'll sit down with her face to face. I'll shoot her ass down too, without looking anything up. Because compared to her, I've been around. I've lived in 8 states. Been around in extra other states. I've seen things. I pay attention to what people say, what people do. Man, trust me, sometimes you can tell with influencers who gets out and who does not. You can tell.
Overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
so
if you want to use
starting
if you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique.
Yeah, we should go over the actual evidence that we feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim.
And it was found. I looked it up. It's in several reports. It was found. Of course, a lot of snipers do leave their weapons. And I'm not sure why they don't just take, again, to Vegas. He kept all his stuff, but he locked himself in. But for some weird reason, most shooters take their weapons with them. Some of them leave it. And again, I don't know why. But it seems like the younger the person, they tend to leave evidence. The older person take their weapons with them because they know leaving behind a trail will get you caught faster. So again, that's obvious.
That a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core locks absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly.
And I said the same thing. It would, and now she's kind of agreeing to that, but again, she doesn't want to say it's a bullet. That's the problem.
Exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. And my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods, that
another plot hole. This is the part that really caught me, and I'm really struggling here. I don't know if she has memory loss or she just in full-blown mental denial. She cannot even say it was found in the woods. She literally is like, she don't even know where to say where the rifle was. She's even saying, well, if you're saying it was found, that is insane. It makes me think, whatever she feels is a lie. What did you read? That's what I don't understand. It's almost like she read what they found in the investigation. She said, I don't believe this, I don't believe this, I don't believe this, I don't believe this. And she put up a mental block. That's what it sounds like she did. And that's a sign that you are emotionally traumatized for the cause of what you're grieving at. And again, there's nothing wrong with grieving. Emotional trauma comes with grieving at certain degrees, but when you start deflecting and projecting that trauma, that's when it clouds your mind. Like that's insane. What you see right here, evidence and caption. She can't even say or verbalize where it was, and he just said it.
gun. Did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary?
Now she just jumps from the evidence of where the rifle was to, oh, did you watch the current, most recent testimony? So now she's jumping from evidence found from last year to now the current trial. I think it was current. They might have had a current trial. But again, I'm not watching this. So she's trying to skip over everything and go to the present to where, and here's the catch. When you have trials, you have the defense, the two defense are going to argue back and forth over evidence. That's common. And so that's what she wants to focus on so she can have ammunition to say, yes, the defense for, I guess, Charlie Kirk is trying to say, no, the defense for Tyler Robinson is trying to say the evidence against him isn't corroborative because that, they want to try to get a lighter sentence. That's what she's trying to use, which is weird because now you're trying to say Tyler Robinson is innocent when everything is pointing to him just to say somebody killed him, which in her mind, she wants to say either TPUSA or Israel had him killed. Like, I'm still scratching my head on that one.
Covered it live. Yeah.
Okay, so forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given?
Another deflection. See, she's trying to skip over almost a whole year because she doesn't want to get called out. A huge plot hole. Huge. Huge. This is why men and women get into arguments. This is why. It's mind-boggling. Another topic for another day on that one, but
by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet analysis.
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay, so
all right, we're gonna skip ahead a bit because, like I said, she goes into this testimony part. It's horrific. It's horrific. All right, so now he's going into.
That's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up.
Fact check
And then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well, but they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah.
Arizona law.
So I'll read this.
just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Hold on.
Yeah, so this says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr.
yeah,
Kirk's
that was a
neck,
medical
strap
exam
muscles of the
report.
left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral.
In other words, the bullet went straight through his neck. A bullet does that. That's why I don't understand why she thinks it was something else called a projectile that may be in the same description of a bullet when a bullet does that. That's just mind-boggling. She's just in complete denial.
Apical and posterior intercausal hemorrhages, pulmonary apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the
And you heard him chuckle because, like, dude, the evidence is right here. Let's watch her expression.
thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination said he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay, and I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that, so I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you bring up 1102?
She still calls it a projectile. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. That's why it was very hard to watch and pay attention to this. Like, I literally was doing something else and listening at the same time. Like, I think I had my earbuds in or my over-the-head earphones on because I just, and that's what's bad to me for my channel. Like, I cannot, especially if it's over an hour, I cannot watch someone stream past an hour. And when you start having inconsistent bullshit going on, a lot of, fluff, a lot of, you're just spamming the shit out of people, it's like, I can't. And even when I try to watch someone's podcast that's 3+ hours, I'm skipping through half of it, like, without a doubt. There's no way. And as you can see, this is 3 hours and 11 minutes long. And just the way she is going at this, I didn't last, but 17, I think it was maybe about 17 minutes after the hour, I gave up because there's something else she said that I couldn't do it anymore.
To Utah rule, because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying.
So now she is trying to skip over the preliminary evidence and go to a current Utah ruling. and it might have been last year, but she's trying to go to the most current ruling where they're starting to deliberate on the evidence, both defense teams, so she can corroborate why she has this theory. Yeah, it's wild.
Saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inference.
And again, here's another problem with her tactic in saying that. Whenever you have evidence and the attorneys present their evidence, the evidence is hearsay until they take the presentation and send it to the jury or the jurors to look over it. But the whole purpose of the court is to present evidence as hearsay, and that's why they argue. You cannot focus on just the presentation of the evidence and say it was just hearsay. But they have to look over evidence, whether it's new or old. That's why they give it to the jurors and whoever else who looks over this, or they present it to the other defense team so they can look over it. Like, her level of common sense just deteriorates here. And it's crazy. And he's doing a good job. For the first time, I had to say he was very level-headed and very, very moderated in this debate, and very confident. Because most debates, oh man, they get at his ass. Like, I've seen him lose and crash out in a lot of debates because a lot of what he says is personal experience hearsay outside of what somebody else experienced that's trying to tell him, you may not know much about what you're saying. I know more than you, and he wants to still shoot them down. But he stuck to what he had as evidence, and PBD podcast has the evidence because he had to have evidence from both. And for what I noticed, he had more evidence from Andrew than Candace, sadly to say. Like, that was fucking unreal. It's sad to say, even with this, PBD really didn't agree with most of what she said either. I don't know what his stance is low key. I don't really care, but from what I saw the first hour, he was not feeling it at all. With the mounting evidence too. That's what's crazy.
But no, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. Tyler Robinson did it.
No,
the same
no,
way
no,
that
I
you
didn't
got
get
to
to
Tyler.
See, another plot hole. He's perfectly correct on this. He has evidence plus the actual state evidence, the crime evidence, that they're saying Tyler Robinson was the shooter. There was even evidence that he talked to his parents and was told to turn himself in. His roommate said the same thing, and yet she's trying to say, no, you corroborated your influence to say Robinson was a shooter with no credible evidence. And yet she's trying to say what I have with no evidence. She hasn't proved anything. She hasn't shown anything. She hasn't even asked PBD to pull up anything. That she has solid proof that Tyler Robinson was a patsy or a soy boy. That's the crazy part. It just falls apart horrifically. But the good thing about debates is the moderator has to let them debate it out. He can't interject. Or he could, but he does a few times. When she got little cringe, he did kind of like, he had to stop and question her, like, are you sure? Because it was just, it's, man. And it's a shame. He's paying her $300K. That is insane. Just to, I don't even know what was the point or the purpose for him to. Now, he does say why, and it still makes me scratch my head to say, like, but still, is it that serious? Like, really? The only thing I can think of now, I will say this, because again, I don't really care for him or his debates. The only thing I can say he's doing this is because her fame is on a rapid decline. His fame is going deeper underground in a decline. And he has been on Piers Morgan's show and still just, it looks cringe. So since he has a bad reputation on whatever podcast and on his show and all the debaters, and he has a horrible following. I mean, people don't like him. And he's been called ass, whatever. I think this is one opportunity to take one of the most famous YouTubers, commentators, and get your reputation up a bit as a viable debater. I think that's the only thing he sees in this. And I must say, it probably is working, but again, a lot of people are not going at this because they're both not really, they're not up there no more. And I started seeing some YouTubers go into this, and I was going to kind of go into this a little bit, but I had to wait to see what other people were going to do, and I saw up to 3 so far. So I said, okay, let me go in on it, but I didn't see the whole thing because like I said, I can't. You saw the title of this video or this live stream, I can't. It just gave me brain rot. And it's a lot of emotional damage. It's crazy how much she's bleeding.
From that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important, so we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the...
I'll skip ahead.
An alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they've not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
The standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes...
Okay, so I'm going to skip to this too, but she is trying to say he was going off of some camera footage that was blurry to say that they found evidence of, tools and weapons. Now, I'm going to explain something to you, and a lot of people may agree with her, like, oh, you can't verify a person with blurry footage. That is true, but you still can identify them based on the color of the clothes. The problem is also, there's a lot of places of business that still use cameras almost 20 years old. I worked at a manufacturing plant in Maryland called Clorox from 2020 to 2025. I could not believe how poor the security footage was because I had to deal with something that occurred and I had to have footage pulled up, do an investigation, blah, blah, blah. It was ridiculous how poor the footage was because their system was old as shit. I said something about how poor the footage was, and this was 23. By me saying something, they decided to go ahead and get their cameras updated because I pushed for it. I said, this ain't gonna work. If something else happens, like, how are we gonna see who's what? Because it's old and it's blurry. You can't even zoom in. It's not even HD. So after I pushed for them to get new cameras, then we had better footage, more high definition footage. So keep in mind, she is right, but still, if you're good with identifying people based on the color of the clothes and description, you can still make out who that is. That's why most companies and security don't change their cameras right away, because they still can identify the person, even if it's like 480p or 720 resolution. So she's trying to debunk what he's saying because the footage was bad. Well, hey, not everybody is using high definition cameras, Candace. Like, come on now. Some people can't afford those things. So I wanted to make that clear. She's trying to, say he can't go off of footage that they have. Even the footage in the hotel when, Trump was going to be assassinated, it was blurry footage because, again, that hotel they even said that hotel was old, outdated. So imagine the cameras on it was outdated. So yeah, they had to enhance the footage. And it's like, Candace, like, come on now. But you still saw who was running through the metal detector and past the NSA. Obviously, you saw it.
I didn't say that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was...
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find
You just
to
said
be
you didn't say
compelling
it, so we're
evidence.
going to get a fact check on that. You
Sure.
did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference, this is the most, I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
Yeah, exactly. Why is that absurd? That is fucking crazy. Whenever someone does change their clothes, they don't think about changing their shoes half the time. Like, again, why is that absurd? Now, you can trick people by having somebody else wear the same shoes, get all different clothing, but the problem with that is, and here's the catch, this is where her plot hole just makes her fall through it. You cannot really find somebody that is almost the exact same body type if they're in your friend group. Like, you have to really have friends that's almost the exact same body type as you, which is what she was trying to say. Well, it's two people can wear the same shoes, yes, but they're not going to be the same body type. So, and that's why investigators do pay attention to detail. If the same person changed clothes but not their shoes, that's the same person. And the average person don't think about changing their shoes. And, and that's why it was here's the catch. That's why it was a problem when people, after the mask mandate ended, they were still wearing masks when they did crime. Because you can still keep on the same thing, but now you can't see the face. So you could be anybody. That's why he kept wearing masks, and now they make it illegal to wear masks inside buildings now, because they were thinking smart.
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow, what a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay, that's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person?
The idea that on a college campus, two people wearing this totally different outfits but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue.
It can happen, but they're not going to be the same body type, and that's why I made that a point to bring that up, because that's what she was aiming at. We're going to skip ahead. In fact, let's see here. Oh yeah, she's going into the Utah, the 2011, which again, that argument fell apart. But I'll let you guys listen to what she was trying to say. That he's reading from it.
Definitely, like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pulled
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, titles, messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just text me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay, I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember.
Okay, so this was a debate that he had evidence of text messages. She has yet to show any evidence of text messages. That was the argument from the beginning to this point. When he said he saw and have the text messages that Tyler said that you will be able to check the cameras. Again, he was kind of like baiting people if he gets caught or not. He left a trail. She was trying to say, how do you know how you have text messages when that's the text message right there? So that's what that's all about. And she got shot down, as you can see her expression.
Remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay, I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that.
And it's a shame she just admitted she didn't even fact check the text message, if not any text messages. And this is why I was just like, did you even fact check anything? Like I don't understand. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you come up with a conspiracy if you're not able to repeat half the stuff he researched to verify what he was reading himself on headlines and on X and this, that, and that? It's literally, she's just going off of hearsay herself. Or other YouTubers and people who believe that it wasn't Tyler Robinson. And there's a lot of people who don't believe it because they think Israel was involved or TPUSA was involved because they watched how, Erica Kirk acted after he died, which, that's like, come on now. Here's the thing. Now, I'm going to speak on this. When people are running a business, and I've seen this firsthand, when people are running a business, when they have a death in your family, they keep on moving. They keep it moving. They show no emotion because they still have to run a business. They take a day or two off to go grieve. They come back like nothing happened. They keep it moving. That's what Erica Kirk did. I don't understand. That's what I might do. Does anybody get out anymore? I'm just baffled by that. That they just say, oh, well, she didn't care about her husband, blah, blah, blah. If she felt she had to pick up the mantle and run the business, and then that was also a backup agreement between her and her husband, that's what she did. They probably discussed it. They still have yet to find someone to take over. So they probably already discussed it. That if something happens to him, she takes over. They don't even want to bring that up. She doesn't want to bring it up, but then that's not her prerogative to know that. So that's the thing. It's like she did not research anything at all. It's just crazy, but she knows about it. That's why I don't know. Maybe she's got brain rot herself from doom scrolling and pushing that mouse wheel. I don't know.
I'm just saying to you, like,
okay.
I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep, the 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay, if you have that as well. There you go.
Wait, what are we saying? It's not hearsay?
Statements that are not hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay.
And at this point, 47 minutes in, I was really about to click end. He again presents more evidence that what the defense presents is not pure hearsay. Okay? Even though what they present is like presentation, it's hearsay in that sense, it's presentation. Here's the evidence that what she's declaring, the whole defense argument, is hearsay. He's got evidence stating that it's not. Okay. And again, it doesn't say anything about hearsay anyway. Okay, here at the top, it says statements that are not hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay. So again, what he's proven is they have evidence, they presented the evidence, and this article is saying anything that's presented as a presentation in court is not hearsay. So that pretty much just wipes out what I said, just to give her credibility that she is coming from that angle, because they're presenting, and the other defense team is hearing it as hearsay until they look at it. But this is saying nothing is hearsay because it's already been most likely looked over, which that usually does happen too. So we can now exonerate what he is showing proof of, that she can't say what they do in court is hearsay, which is true. It's really not. They have to look over it, period. So let's skip ahead. In fact, that's something that really got me. Like, let's see, what is it?
Versus Andrew, somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
Okay, there's something you find to be more overwhelming?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
okay,
that's what I was saying.
Okay,
Yes.
go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine, keep going, but we can
would
also.
you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't
or
matter to me either
If
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you guys in the middle of it.
Let's
So
end on
what
what
would
you
like
find
to
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So for me, it's the confessions.
I think PBD podcast, or let's just say PBD, was just getting a little exhausted hearing her mouth. I think that he needed, if he smokes, I think he needed a cigarette break. I was surprised Andrew didn't even get a cigarette break. I'm shocked. Like, usually he'd be smoking his ass off. He'd be stressed out. Probably because he'd be full of shit too. But yeah, it's pretty bad at this point.
The text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Folks, we're
And
going to take a
that's
quick...
what's crazy. She's still trying to counter the evidence of this text. That's I don't know.
ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians have lived continuously in a small village.
Commercial,
You
and
visit
he had her
use code
promote.
Candace at check.
They want to control it.
strange.
This is free for all. This is what's best for the audience. That's why we like freedom of speech. Having said that, let's go back into the text conversation you were having, right?
Okay.
Let's stay, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay, that sounds fair. Okay, so yeah, I used basically three pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay, so if you want to know exactly what those three pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence, and this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay, so right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid, and I have not.
And that's why I don't understand why she doesn't want. She kind of half-ass agreed they're valid, but she wants to push her point of view is more solid than his. And again, if you look at her comment section on her feed, in fact, I'll link the description of her channel in this live, so you can watch the whole 3 hours of it. If you want to sit through this bullshit, but it's just mind-boggling how she still wants to backpedal and say the text messages cannot be proven or they're hearsay, or I guess she wants to even say, oh, you can edit text messages and shit like that. I don't fucking know. I'm surprised she didn't say, oh, well, that was deleted and doctored or it was done by AI. Like, really? You know, so I mean, make that make sense.
Heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. But why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not putting on, they're not.
She dodges again. She literally just jumps completely over what they agreed on. She agreed to talk about why she feels the text messages aren't valid, and now she just jumps right back to the defense. I'm like, oh my God, like, Candace.
There to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state. Okay. So they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for sometime in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why.
I did see that in one of the, I guess you could say that it was more like a essay or a summary of the whole proceeding. They asked for an extension. That's usually normal because they want to go over the mounting evidence. So there's nothing wrong with them asking for an extension. She's just trying to make something out of it.
They were requesting an extension, and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many.
And another problem, and here's another big plot hole. If one team is doing more digging and investigating than the other, and one team's going to have more evidence than the other, that's also normal. Just like she claimed, some kind of way, she got to the restaurant where he left, supposedly before anybody else, and that's credible evidence, according to her. But she has no proof, not a snapshot, not, no copy of receipt, because you can ask for copies of receipt, nothing. But she said that's mounting credible evidence. That's like, again, I don't even, there's no words for this, to be honest. Like, there's always going to be one team with more information than the other, and that's why they have to cross-examine. It's crazy.
Reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off, and yes, you are allowed to have an intuition, you are allowed to have a sense, and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I think the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like, he wanted to get away with it, so he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did, down to what I didn't even remember, saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People.
Yeah, but at the same time, what she's not saying, he didn't want to get away with it. See, and that's the problem. He wanted to get caught because young people in that age range, whether they get caught or not, it's clicks and views. And I'm pretty sure he was thinking that because Mario Mangiani did the same thing. He figured if I get caught, it's clicks and views. The world would know what I did. That was the whole point why he left breadcrumbs. He was probably thinking the same thing. That's why he texted what he texted. But again, she thinks it's weird. Again, I don't know. Maybe I don't even know how old she is, but I'll give her credit where credit is due. She doesn't think conniving, and that's a good thing because you don't have the knowledge to do anything crazy like that. But when you can think like that, you have the capability of pulling something off like that sooner or later, if not ever, depending on the situation. And she's not thinking like, how would, I guess what I'm trying to say, she's not thinking about how kids do crazy things, risky things. To be honest, I might just leave this in our comment section. If you don't believe how he thought this out, maybe you need to go watch the movies Jackass. That's what I should put in there. So she can understand how kids think, especially white kids. To say she's married to a white man, she has no clue how white kids think. That's fucking crazy. Now, granted, I hung around them most of my entire life, so I know how they think. They have two. They try to at least have two plans, A and B. But nowadays, if and again, I don't understand how she's not noticing this, especially on TikTok. Everybody's doing shit to be seen, whether they get in trouble or not. Like, come on, Candace. Like, fuck, I don't. Like I said, I don't think she gets around anymore.
Have common sense. He just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under because and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting. We're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist. But then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
Also, as a Helldivers
novelist.
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that if we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
Yeah, she's not a gamer. Yeah, so why speak on it if you're not a gamer? If you don't understand, like, bro, that was another plot hole. That shit fell apart quick. I'm glad he caught her on that one. Like, again, you could research. She could have asked gamers. There's a lot of things she could have asked. She could have interviewed a lot of people. And it's like, I haven't seen her interview too many people except people that believe what she believes. And that's what's striking. But those YouTubers do that because they don't want any opposition or debates that would shoot down their narrative either.
Yes,
But my point.
But I will say this, the reasoning behind my title is I don't care what comes through my DMs in my comment section. I want both ends. I want people to voice their opinion. Like, stir it up, disturb the peace, bust that bubble. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if you want to debate, let's debate. Because I'm going to prove my evidence, you can prove yours. We can come down on even ground or not. Hey, but hey, at least we get it out there and open. There won't be no one-sided narrative. I don't like one-sided narratives. That's why I let people comment what they comment. Now, if they want to try to shoot me down, I'm going to present why I said what I said. And if you still don't believe me, hey, that's on you. In the conversation there. That's your opinion. That's how I operate. If I got no evidence to prove it, I say, oh yeah, you're right. That's how I am. But she's, you know, it's a shame she's not researching any of this. Even his gaming background. That's,
It's just that, just first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but you see how that's...
And again, she's like, bro, that's insulting to someone's intelligence. And you just said he had a 4.0 and now you're trying to say he has no writing ability? That makes me wonder, what college did she go to? Because any school to college, you have to write essays, lots of them. So why wouldn't he be able to write something so elaborate or extravagant? Like, come on now. I had to learn to write. I'm writing books. And, you know, I have to research some of these teens and 20-year-olds read still. They read authors who write in complexities. That I follow a Korean right now. I think it's her channel, like Glass Door or something. She reads a lot of authors that wrote books like 30 years ago. And she articulates her point of view immaculately. And in fact, the way she talks, she would shoot Candace down any day, any time, bro. That makes me wonder, Candace, what the shit do you read? Because, like, this shit's ridiculous.
Intuition?
That is, I am. I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually.
She's been going on intuition this whole debate. Now she's saying park it. Because it's his intuition against hers, which his is solid evidence. But, you know, she's trying to say, let's park all the intuition, but let me bring in this angle of intuition. Watch.
Do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me respond.
You see that loop she just did? But she's using the COVID vaccine, which everybody was on the fence with that. I was on the fence with it. Evidently, with the evidence, I was on the fence medically because this man currently that we're dealing with rushed. He forced it to be rushed. And that's a big red flag for me. I felt like despite that, again, he wasted time to address it anyway. We might as well spend the years to get the vaccine because you already let hundreds and thousands of people die and you call it the China virus and the Hong Kong virus and you said it wasn't real. All right, well, fuck. Take the 2 years he needs to have it made. He tried to have it rushed in 6 months. That's why I didn't want to take it because, like, I'm not, no. They had actually put out human trials on headlines of people that survived it and didn't. It's out there. So everybody was on the fence with the COVID vaccine. That's why that's not intuition. Any government conspiracy about it, I don't know. That's kind of like I mean, I understand why they forced people to take it because yes, we had a rising death toll. I had the charts. I seen the charts. They would want to force it on people because we was looking pretty fucking bad to say we was advanced, and yet China had the vaccine out before us. Russia had it out before us. Germany had it out before us. So that's why they forced it on us. It was looking really bad. We was allowing people to die over here with the advanced technology we had. But again, they want to say, oh, it was government conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. All right, whatever. You know, believe what you want to believe. I mean, I took it. It worked because guess what? And this is real talk right now. As soon as I had the dual booster or the dual shot that I had to pick from, because the other two, the one that lasted a year was already gone, no supply. So I had to take the 6-month dual shot. Man, right in the 6th month, I went to someone's house. They didn't tell us at all that their son had COVID. They told us after we got there, 30 to hour in, that he had COVID. Guess who caught it? Me. And I didn't know until 2 weeks in, I was hospitalized. I was 5 days in there. Plus I have asthma, so it was killing me. In fact, they said it made my asthma worse, to be honest. Worse. So, anyway.
A little bit here, because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. Intuition?
That is, I am. I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast.
That was a crazy blackout. I don't know if that was my screen going to sleep or the stream.
And there's too many celebrities telling me to do it. I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on.
guys,
Let me respond a little bit here, because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they try to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and masks and things like this. Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually getting a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition is the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some.
This is another thing that got me. I was ready to walk off watching this. She is sick and tired of people saying something that's legitimate, but then she gets mad when they call her a conspiracy theorist and pushing her little keywords, her little adjectives. This is the biggest emotional damage cop out I've seen within the hour, and this was like I was at my breaking point at this point.
Parts compelling. I think they should go.
Like
I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see.
Like Fed slop. Who the fuck says that? Like, again, people are making new words like AI slop, Fed slop. Great. Make up new words. That makes you trending. Great. But don't tell somebody they can't use a legitimate, high profile word or an intelligent word that's been used for millennia in the so-called English British language because you don't want to get called out. That's fucking crazy.
The trial, that would be kind of.
Don't you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect, but I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay.
Well, not only were they trusting their intuition, but again, Charlie Kirk wasn't that big of a big name, number two. And everybody found out he was a MAGA supporter in American First, but they was like, oh yeah, okay. That's why they were saying most of the non-MAGA people were celebrating that this was a L for the Trump followers. That's why they were celebrating. Yeah, I mean, I don't condone that. Keep that to yourself. I mean, keep it to yourself, but this is the age of social media. They want to be known and seen. But again, that I didn't know nothing about him till he got killed. And I still could care less. I don't even care what his wife does. In fact, I've seen some small snippets of the show that she puts on. I was like, oh, hell no. In fact, the halftime show, I actually let it play. I don't think could, I didn't last 2 minutes in. I'm dead ass serious. Like, I think the first opening song was trash. For a country song, it was trash. Like, trash. And I've heard country music, but man, no. And I've heard like her attendance is pretty fucking low lately. Like, low.
Okay, well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said, parking aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, just your general intuition, some might be text messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were.
See, and she's trying to shut him down because again, she knows she's getting called out. This whole debate was her trying to shut him down because she's getting called out. PBD got people in the back with evidence, and it's looking bad for her. It really is. But hey, she got support, and bro, that comment section on her channel was wild. I was like, yeah, these guys. There was not a single Andrew supporter in the comments. I'm not, but I put in my 2 cents, and like I caught somebody's attention that night. And I don't know what my cats are doing. What the hell? But I put in my opinion that from my military experience, Candace has no idea what she's talking about. No idea. And it's a shame because she could look this stuff up. But she admitted low key that she chooses not to.
Requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of the discovery request, is it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace, and I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying.
Here's the problem. If the phone was federal evidence, then she's not going to have access to the phone. They will send her copies of the evidence from the device, but it's still evidence under federal control. And again, if Kansas doesn't know that, that's how the federal government operates with the state, even with the state attorneys. Man. Like, even if it's the state, even if this, prime example, okay, Nolan Wells' case, right? They have the evidence locked up. The attorneys for Nolan Wells' family has no access to any of the evidence the state has or the investigative office. None. They're getting sent copies. And that's like, how do you not know this, Candace? Like, really?
We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone. It is not convincing to the public when...
The problem with this that falls apart is a very, very deep plot hole is when you're arrested and in jail, you cannot relay that amount of information to give to someone outside of jail to stage a text message conversation. Like, you're no longer in society. You're cut off. You don't even know half the time of what's going on. So he cannot even tell his boyfriend to fabricate a story. You're done once you're in there. I would know. I was in there for, fighting. It was lockup, considered lockup. I was cut off. I didn't know what the fuck was going on out there. I couldn't even contact my family. They didn't give me my phone for a minute. So how would he be able to use, you know what I'm saying? Like, unless you memorize phone numbers, which nowadays most people don't. That's why that argument she's saying just fell into a hole. It's man.
For whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from.
And I just said why. It's still considered federal evidence. They're not, because if you give evidence to someone else and they, tamper with it, mess with it, delete something, the evidence is done. Why doesn't she know this?
Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here.
Unless you have an Apple app on your Apple laptop that has iMessage, you cannot send a message on the phone from that far. Because my laptops have Windows 11, right? Okay. Unless you're using WeChat, WhatsApp, or these text messaging apps, you cannot use iMessage like that. Just like you cannot use Google Message like that. You have to be in range of your Wi-Fi and your computer for the computer to connect to your phone. That's how that works. So what she's trying to say was he texted all that through like WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever. That's the only way that would have worked. And I do believe Facebook Messenger is, well, at one time it was linked to text messaging. I think they updated it to be linked again. That would be the only way that would work. But then they're not saying he texted with Facebook Messenger. So again, her argument on that just completely falls off. It's cooked. Like, bro, she's just making up bullshit at this point.
That discovery was not met by the time we got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid, and they don't sound valid to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot.
You see how uncomfortable PVD is getting. I don't know, but if anybody has common sense, she's just making herself look bad. That's all I have to say.
On the corner would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it, and I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough.
Did she forget he turned himself in the next day? Did she forget that? Oh. She said, wherever his rifle was, in so many words. Because she didn't pay attention or choose to pay attention where they found his rifle. So she don't want to believe the text messages. Make that make sense.
To, I don't know, maybe not text. It's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in the surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse, being a little.
They had presented all that shit last year. Like, where the fuck was she? Oh, I know. She was busy blaming his wife in TPUSA and Israel the whole time.
Zisha's here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids, and you love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, I didn't actually he didn't actually confess to me. He didn't actually. None of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house. What happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe going to, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no, how do you know?
She wants him to watch her show with her point of view when they were approached by the feds. See, the problem with her take is she feels like the feds were up to something. But when the investigation begins, yes, they're going to send undercover to investigate. That's normal. If they need to capture families to interrogate later, there's a chance they're going to put them in safe houses so they won't run. Especially when they found out the grandfather was the one that gave him the rifle, because that was also headlines. So of course they're going to gather the whole family and put them somewhere so they can be investigated so nobody will run. The feds have means to gather people to interrogate. I kind of put that in one of my books, how they brought some people in to interrogate. And they had them stay for a little bit too. It's in one of my stories. How I know? I looked it up. Whenever I write stories about the feds and police, I look up their process on how they do things. I don't want to make up things in my fictional story despite it's fiction. I want some level of truth mixed with an alternate reality. So it sounds believable even though it's fiction. And this is not fiction, and yet she's trying to say the feds were up to something that wasn't credible. And she has the evidence on her show based on her point of view, and he has to go see why she thinks that that's fucking crazy.
Okay, I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
You find it to be reliable hearsay?
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
And he just called her out again. And then she wants to say, oh, so you don't find, hearsay reliable or whatever like that.
I'm just doing what the
What you're doing
prosecution
is
did.
a cool story.
It's not cool. Well, you must have hated watching me for
You're giving us a cool story. You're saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case, it was being reported in mainstream media that your father came to you and said, hey, is this you? What's going on here? And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, no, that's not what happened.
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay, maybe I'm.
He's absolutely correct, because there have been parents after shootings come out and say, I cannot believe that was my son. I cannot believe that. That's right. In fact, I'm going to say this on my live stream. She needs to go look up all those mass shootings that those kids did at their school. And she can see the parents that came out to the news media and said what they had to say about their children. That they were embarrassed, they didn't know, or he was a good child. And she's saying that's ridiculous. Like, bro, where has she been?
Paraphrasing.
So what is your, sorry, just so I'm clear, where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no, I didn't say that.
You said
I
it does in mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him.
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler
Well, I mean, that's
confronted
part of
him?
the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up. But yes.
But I'm saying, but when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact checked.
Now she's trying to blame media because Trump said media is a hoax. And this man said, I can pull up the document. Well, she later tried to say, well, somebody on the defense team said, well, we can't corroborate that.
Debate.
Are you talking about like the charging documents?
I think it was it could have been in the charging documents, but we can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up?
See, and now he's got evidence, but now she's trying to backpedal. She's trying to back away because, again, she's about to get shot down again. Like, this man did his research, pulled the research with him as evidence, and my followers, my guys, my ladies, it's an hour in. Has anybody seen anything presented by her besides what PBD decided to have pull up for her. Like, he had to have shit pulled up for her because he was curious. She has yet to say, I have evidence, go fact check it. She has yet to say it. We're in an hour and 6 minutes.
I can already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because this is where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating on the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in until we got to the preliminary hearing. And we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right? Sure. Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying
that's your safe house.
Son did this. My son, I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews. But
they didn't know. They didn't tell. They found out about it. I think it was stated that he told them, eventually told them. So of course they wouldn't know. They probably didn't find out until it hit the headline news that someone shot Charlie Kirk. Most parents don't know their kids do these things. Like, that's another thing she doesn't understand. Again, she needs to go watch all the mass shootings. Like since Trump's first term. You can go further back than that, under Obama's term, and watch how the parents react to, like, oh, I did not know. That's the first thing that come out their mouth half the time. I don't know why she don't know that.
Also, the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging documents,
They can bring in new people to handle the case if someone else is getting too much press time. That's not unnormal. That's normal. They can bring in extra people if there's too much evidence being muddied. I don't know why. They do that a lot. Just like Nolan Wells' case, they're bringing in the FBI. They brought in another autopsy, forensic, to look at the body. Like, dude, how does she not? I don't think she's even watching the Nolan Wells case right now. I guarantee you she's not, because I haven't seen any headlines pop up from her on it. I've seen Don Lemon mostly, not her. I don't expect her, but I'm just saying, like, what she believes, she can learn from the Nolan Wells case. You want to talk about conspiracy? What's happening in the Nolan Wells case is a pure developing conspiracy by real people in real time. And they have people on TikTok and YouTube calling these guys. I've called it out. I've even ran some of their photos through AI. And to be honest, the 5 models I ran it through said they could not identify the drinks they were drinking from. Because what was suspicious was I couldn't even tell what kind of drink. It looked like some of the cans looked distorted, which was not quite normal. So 2 AI models said based on the color schemes, it could be Red Bulls, which that's possible. But the problem with that is the cans were too big to be Red Bulls. Now, I didn't want to go deep because I was going to tear every single picture apart. I was going to go through all the loopholes and especially interviews. But I don't have time for that right now. I got some other problems I'm dealing with. I didn't want to break it down. There's another TikToker who's doing a good job. Kudos to her. I just, I got problems. I mean, I could push a lot of content on my channel, but I got a lot of problems right now, which if y'all watch my videos, y'all see what's going on. Plus, I'm standing up right now because I have a hip injury, which doing some bullshit with that. But I just don't understand why she doesn't know a conspiracy when it's evident. It's just crazy. That's why they're calling her out.
After they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City. I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying,
Why? They don't need to present everything, too. That's another problem she has. They don't need to present everything. They usually don't present everything. That's not the investigative team to expose everything like that. That's why you have courts. If they need to expose everything like that to present their case, then why do we have a court system? Again, think about that for a second. What she's trying to debate is she wants everybody investigating this case to expose everything like YouTubers do and TikTokers and Instagrammers. Well, get rid of the court systems, then they'll have no choice to do that.
No, how this negates the point, though. Why
it
wouldn't
truly
the
negates the
parents?
point because you don't have a statement from the parents. You are going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
it's not correcting. It
misinformation?
doesn't negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about the over, you said it's been the narrative, everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him, and we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably.
Plot hole, whatever fuck number it is, that's their job. Police officers do the same thing. I've been approached, and trust me, I've been peer pressured to admit that I committed something, this, that, and third, multiple times. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I tell them, I have no idea what you're talking about. I am doing this, this, and this. Police officers do it quite a bit. Well, they want to see if you're guilty of something. That is normal. That's their job. You have to peer pressure people that you're interrogating to see if they're telling the truth or not. Otherwise, people are going to automatically lie if they want to get away with it. Like, oh, how does she not know that? I mean, her whole argument is just a fallacy to even listen to. Like, there's no common sense coming out of her mouth.
Or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers.
Oh my God. Like, what are we talking about here? He's an undercover for 20 plus years and you don't like that? Like, are you kidding me right now? Isn't this federal? Like, this is going to the federal level. What, bro? Oh my God.
The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout
How does
leader.
this negate that the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you have the evidence,
that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever.
Well, you're quoting the parents as having said. You said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was. You say involved. I don't want to misquote you.
Confronted him about it.
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence.
And I'm saying it's the charging doc.
There's evidence. I've read it.
Which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One is the charging doc, and the
Yes.
other one is a video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can run
Which
Kathy to
one
go
would you
back,
wanna
and
see
then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the. If you're okay with that.
Thing not in dispute.
Of course she wants to go to Kathy. She wants to go to Kathy's video saying, of course she does, because she wants evidence that she can back up her fucking claims. That's the only evidence she got. And he had to pull it up. That's what's crazy. He had to pull it up. She didn't ask to pull it up. He had to, bro.
These are all things that I'm not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages, something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery
think
on
that would
messages.
make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way,
Did you just see what she just said? Like, it's called winners and losers. What kind of non-legal bullshit did she just say?
the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery
think
on
that
messages.
would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers.
Bro. It's called winners and losers. You see how she is losing ground? Like, that's another cop-out. That's another one. That's probably the second one, probably out of many she had, but that's the biggest cop-out right there. She is losing ground. She's getting very emotional. She's past defensive at this point. Way past defensive. That's not even a legal term. They don't even use that term in court or trial at all. Not at all. Period. Period. That's crazy.
They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as
In fact, I should put that in the comments section where she's copping out. She basically that's a pre-crash out right there, to be honest. In fact, hold on, I might actually do that. That was.
the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery on
think that would
messages.
make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may
2 minutes in. Oh yeah, that's a crash out. She crashed out an hour and 10 minutes in. Oh, I got flash on my phone. Okay. Gotta clean my iPhone lens. shit is just kind of still blurry a little bit. iPhone cameras do kind of suck a bit, especially at night. Yeah, it's still the same. That's crazy. Well, resolution at nighttime for cameras are pretty poor anyway. Now they're using AI to enhance it. Yeah, I'm bringing that up. She crashed out early. I'm gonna have to pull it back about an hour and 9 minutes when she crashes out.
May not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the parents fact check.
Yeah, so I was saying, I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis. Let's see if that's correct. What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a little
Is this
bit?
the charging
I
doc?
can see it. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes, so this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct? Yeah, so what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed, Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement.
That's the whole point of having somebody to write a statement. Why do you need 3 statements, Candace? Like, what in the flying fuck is she trying to get at? What point? Like, what point? One person writes these statements. Doesn't, man, oh boy. Let's continue.
Which was referred to in this.
Because, like, I'm saying that because when I worked as a lead, okay, I had to take everybody's statement on what they did. Instead of them writing individual statements, I had to write it. And then people who had to write down stuff, they had to give it to me so I can cooperate it all in the email. They didn't want more than one person writing all that. They wanted one person write. That's why I don't understand what planet, probably Mars. She's probably with Elon Musk. I think she believes in the shit he believes in too.
Preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they decided to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
Well, first off,
that's the question.
First off, the parents are not going to ever play in court, play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
but they're
forever.
playing to somebody else.
She makes a good point. His parents probably don't want him to go to jail, but you know, they don't need to testify in court if they already testified and gave a statement. Why does she not know that either? Like, there's so much. Oh my God, she tries to make herself sound so smart. This is looking. Oh my God.
Who's your source?
I'm not going to address that.
They're playing to someone else who's your source, but won't go publicly tell the media this is not true?
Well, what I did not say to you that I just said I have a source, so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who was involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my
permanently sued, you may, I guess so. And she said, keyword permanently sued. That means they're still after her ass because she hasn't. Yeah, they, you know, that's bad. Like they have evidence on you, and she can't fight it. That means, yeah, that's why she said permanently, because she can't fight it. That's fucked up. And I think I know who it is. I think it's Erica Kirk, if I'm not mistaken.
Lawyers advice. I mean, there's so many things I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media.
This mother,
especially when your son
if I thought that my kid
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like,
exactly. That's why I'm saying on live that she needs to go back to all those media interviews on those local news stations and watch the parents that spoke up about their kids and how they did not know and that they were a good kid, and you could see the emotion on their face that they didn't want their kid to go to jail for life. I don't understand, like, did she see anything? I wonder if she even covered some of those mass shootings, because, like, how did she miss that detail? Like, I don't get it.
that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case.
She says that's between you and your wife. If she has kids, I feel sorry for her kids to have a mother like that. Bruh, that's fucking crazy. She has kids and that's the way she thinks. Wow. Bruh, her kids need to go do. Never mind.
and your son is up for death and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking.
Well, they do tell you not to go to the media without their, that's normal too, because they need all the evidence in trial also. And they don't need things taken out of context, like, prime example, her.
Opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it, and I'd violate the judge's orders and see
But
what
again,
happened.
if you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but what I'm saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is.
Wait a minute. She just said she's not speaking to a source, but she said she has sources, and he said you have anonymous sources. So which is it? Which is it, Candace? Like, that's wild. That is fucking wild.
We have not seen any proof.
And you can see PBD is his attention is gone. Like, he ain't having it no more. I don't know what the fuck that is, but his attention's somewhere else at this point. I don't blame him.
That statement that is included in this charging document, I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell. And Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
Based
saying,
on the statements of
it's him
parents.
saying the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say.
He just presented it. That's what I don't understand. He just presented their written statement.
And we have enough evidence, and I can tell you why Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That would also be a good time for the defense to say that's just totally
No, it's
fabricated.
not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is
Wow. Now, he just literally low-key took her side, and now she's saying that's insane. That they cannot say they corroborate, and that's what she's been saying the whole hour of this. Wow. You see how he threw it back at her and she missed it? She completely missed it. This is why I said she has emotional damage. This is pure emotional damage. She missed it. Her brain is gone. She would have been able to agree with that. He just threw it right, her argument, he threw it right back at her, and she missed it.
completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing
That would be the wrong time. Wow.
is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not
You're
receive
saying that they
discovery.
didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to
That's not the text messages.
the probative information,
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text
they
messages.
never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah.
No.
They could have said they're no. They're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
Yeah.
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything?
They're responding to the state's
I'm asking,
evidence.
are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to
Like
say
if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
no. It wouldn't be the right time for
I
that.
disagree.
What the fuck is she talking about? It wouldn't be a right time for that. Like, oh shit, man. What the hell?
I think,
It's not
I
disagreement.
think that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly.
Bam! Gotcha, bitch. Gotcha. He dropped the fucking hammer on her. He just dropped it. Read it. There it is, folks. There it is right there. He talked in depth with his attorney. Oh my God, there it is right there. The hammer of Thor has been dropped on her ass.
Exactly. If you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing,
This is why I said that she tried to jump over evidence that was gathered to a current recent trial to negate her being shot down. And we all seen she had tried this attempt multiple times. I knew the trial was recent for her to be jumping from the start of the debate of why she thinks he's a patsy, and she tried to work around that question. She dodged it to say, oh, well, the current defense and the current trial, there she is again. So it was recent, and that's why she's trying to base her whole argument on the recent trial, which you can't base your argument on beginning deliberation. If they just started, they're just getting started. they still probably out there gathering more evidence. Like, that's why she was trying to jump over everything she wanted to say was fake, and this is why. But this current trial is the reason behind my reasoning, and that's all I have to say. That's what she was saying. She could have said that shit in 5 minutes instead of wasting an hour of his time.
At this stage of the hearing is the state is saying we have enough evidence
Yep.
that we think this needs to go forward for the trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward, right? And okay, I just
Of course, we just saw documents said that what they were presented was not hearsay. So the court isn't allowing hearsay, they're not accepting hearsay, and she keeps bringing that word up.
agree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though, as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so they're
X.
saying all of
Yeah,
these
but
charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking why you're saying, could they
no,
just
what
put
I'm
out-
asking specifically is like, who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible, this never happened, this is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, no, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? If there's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait a
So we're
second.
here.
Wait a second.
Hey, she missed it again. She fucking missed it again. He threw it at her again, and she says, well, you didn't do that. Oh my God. He was just trying to agree. He just created a what if I agree with you scenario that she could be right, and they need to go off of hypotheticals minus the conspiracy, and she missed it. Man, you see how feeble. Boy. Wow, oh man, did she even prepare? Like, what the fuck? Bro, I feel sorry for her husband.
I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew, there's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you. Is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just.
Oh man, oh my God. Yeah, see, an hour and 17. This is where I stopped. I couldn't go no further after this bullshit.
Thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that
I could not. And I actually timestamped that in the comments section. Let me see if it's still up. Yep, see, it's still up. An hour. No one even came at me yet, except for this one idiot. He said it in I think it was Spanish, and no one's still. They're quiet. They're quiet. In fact, let's see. We're gonna do this. Hold on. We're gonna do this right now, live. I'm going for it. I dare her. I'm surprised she hadn't said anything yet. That is insane. I expected her to respond. In fact, let me see. Let me show you why. So let's see here. And I said, this is why, and people wonder why even Nick Fuentes distanced himself from her. That's a jab at her. And then, okay, we can go a lot. So basically, I just call her out. What she just said, just thinking as a conspiracy theorist. I should have edited that a little bit better. But what I was trying to say, anyone wants to even debate me on why I think she is just thinking as a well, yeah, I guess. No, you know what? Hold on. Let's correct that. Because I was typing fast. Well, never mind. I said, oh, so now people just think it is a valid way to justify conspiracy theories. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're good. All right. So we're going to go back in our pictures. An hour and 10 minutes. We're going to do an hour and 9 minutes. Okay? Fuck, I forgot what she said. It was something that far back.
Show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages, something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually
Don't you
discover
think that would
messages.
make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated.
There it is. There it is. That's one. Okay. All right. Let's see. So some people 2 days ago, somebody else 22 hours ago. That's it. That's it. Just a few people. Legion of Many. I saw him do this like the day of, whatever. Did his live. I think he did his live. This was a couple of hours ago. He paid her $300K to bait. Yeah, but see, he had to bait her. That was the problem. If you really think deep into it, he had to bait her. Okay, so actually, let's go. Let's do an hour and 10 minutes and 23. So we'll do 1 hour. But actually, we'll just do this. Exact. And I'm gonna say this. The phrase, let's say exactly how she said it. It's called winners and losers in court. Now, let me use my keyboard. I'm leaning over. I have an elevated section of my desk. Use my keyboard right here. Man, I thought I put my cursor. Oh, that's. Oh, man, what the fuck happened? Oh, shit. Now, I want somebody to fact check that for me, because I would love to see if they actually use that term. I never heard them use it. I never heard them use shit like that. Never. All right, so we'll do some background checking. All right, so here's the whole preliminary exhortation. Okay, case background. Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, founder of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah, which I'm pretty sure that university is not very up to date. I never heard of Utah Valley University. Okay. Key forensic deployments. Bullet recovered from Kirk's body does not conclusively match the rifle linked to Robinson. The Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco Firearms is supposed to conduct an analysis but could not definitively connect the bullet to the weapon. The FBI is conducting additional tests, including a second bullet comparison and lead analysis, which have not yet been completed. Defense attorneys argue that this inconclusive result could be used as exculpatory evidence at a preliminary hearing. All right, so this is the Robinson team saying that the bullet recovered from Kirk's body does not conclusively match the rifle. Now, keep in mind, the bullet fragmented. That's why they're going to try to use this as a reason of defense. All right, what in the world's going on? Oh, shit. I forgot I got the keyboard in my hand. All right, DNA evidence capacity. Prosecutors have reported that DNA consistent with was found on the rifle trigger and fire cartridge casing, 2 unfired cartridges. However, the fifth notes that some items containing DNA from multiple individuals, complicating the forensic picture. Now, this is possible. She had mentioned that the prints from Robinson was like, how is she worded? Was destroyed or smudged. Now, the problem with that is he could have wiped the handle before he tossed it. That's normal for most. They could wipe the handle and smear the fingerprints, but he didn't wipe the whole rifle. Okay? So that's why they would have multiple prints all over the rifle, especially if it was gifted to him. Robinson attorneys have requested, and this is the extension that she was talking about. Defense strategy plans to present testimony from an ATF firearm analysis and other experts to challenge the prosecution's evidence. So they're trying to get him off. I think they're trying to get him off of the death sentence. And this is Tyler Robinson's defense team. And this is what she's trying to use to say, yeah, he's not the killer. Okay, now here's the other evidence. This is the actual evidence on the 30-06. Let me go all the way up. Okay. September 10th, 2025, shortly after the debate event began. This is going to give me the highlight of how it started. This is Charlie Kirk's background. Attorney Bernie announced on August 27th that Kirk will be visiting several college campuses on September to October. Timeline assassin, he drove a Dodge Gray Challenger. Well, actually it says arrived. Doesn't say he drove. Now here's the thing. They arrested at least 2 people before they got him. So this is saying officials stated the suspected gunman arrived on campus in a gray Dodge Charger. They don't say he drove. Okay. Now they argued about this, or I should say debated about how he dressed differently. This is showing that they still identified him. It's showing video footage also of the suspected shooter running from the south corner of the loose center roof, where he purportedly shot Kirk, to the north corner where the ground was higher and he could hang from the edge of the roof and drop to the ground. See, they have evidence of how he got out and ran. And it's showing he was wearing Converse sneakers, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, the manhunt. Now here's the catch. This is what she does not bring up, and she skipped over all this. She just jumped completely over all this because here's the problem. The conspiracies, not from just her, but from a lot of people, stemmed from this. This right here. Because this is what I heard in the headline. They arrested 2 people originally. Okay? One was arrested on the campus after claiming he shot Kirk. That's what they reported. I remember that, and I still will not forget that. And he said he's glad that he shot the individual so the real suspect could get away. That's what was reported. That's why it took so long for him, let's just say, to get caught. They gave him time to get away. So most likely this person probably drove the Charger. He had, like, Robinson had help, even if it wasn't his boyfriend. Okay. Now, of course, the man, he reported he had a history of mental health issues and was known to Utah authorities for his habit of disrupting public events, blah, blah. So, you know, they probably knew each other. You know, he probably hooked up with him. And he knew he probably agreed to be bait. And this is where, and now this is where the FBI narrative lying comes into play, because Tash Patel reported they caught the subject, but then within 2 hours of making an initial announcement, the subject was released after interrogation. And that's why they say they cannot believe the feds. And this is where the conspiracy started exploding. It got out of hand. And this goes into the weapon he used, the evidence that he was into all this. You know, and she doesn't even bring the Wikipedia part and explain why she don't believe this, this, and this. Now this is the bullet, a 30-06, which when you read about this, they say the 6 is the year it was made. See, 1906. This is a 30 millimeter. So this explains, in fact, everybody should look this up. 30 millimeter 06 Springfield. That's what the bullet's called. Look this up yourself and read about it. It was used in the military for years, and now it's used as a hunting ammunition. It's used for hunting, which most people use rifles. Oops, damn. So why wouldn't he not be the shooter? Again, like, this is all the evidence. In fact, most of the mass shooters have rifles. They use their parents' rifles sometimes. They get their own. But most of the ones in the past ended up being their parents' hunting rifles. You can look that part up too. So I don't understand why she did not look this up. She could have looked up the 30-06. She could have looked up, you know, and this goes into great detail about the bullets used. These are the different types of calibers. I mean, this says from left to right. You have the 9.3 by 62 millimeter, and then you have the 30-06 right here. It's a soft point. You see that tip right there? When you have a pointed tip, it's pointed for a reason. It's designed to go through a lot of things. So if it went through the podium microphone and kept on going, yes, it would have entered and exited. It would have ripped, this type of bullet would have ripped his whole, it would have ripped his neck apart. And that's what it did. That's what Andrew pulled up. I fired bullets like this. In fact, I used to have one. Man. Well, I recently lost my storage, so I probably left it in storage. I lost my storage, but I had the might have been a 55. So yeah, like I said, I'm going through some shit. Going through a lot of problems right now. You know, you can check my videos on it. So, but yeah, I was in the military. I fired bullets with points like this, and then we fired hollow points, or you know, we call them blanks. They have no points. So this is the evidence that she could have looked at and read it herself. There is no other ammunition or projectile that matches a bullet. There's none. Like that's why I'm confused here. So that's just most of the debate. I will leave the entire debate, and this is off of her channel, as you can see. This is her channel. Most of it's gotten almost 4 million. She's got 206,000 likes out of 4 million views. So she's got people who agreed with her. 87 comments. But at least people want to voice their opinion. Nobody has spoken on me yet. I'm surprised. But yeah. There's the evidence. I'm going to leave a link in the description at the end of this live. And this guy's talking about it. You see, even this channel who got slammed for some bullshit, they're still talking about Andrew Tate. There's a lot of people talking about Andrew Tate. And here's the Nolan Wells. There's a lot of people talking about Nolan Wells. Officer Tatum, you know. Here it is again, Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells. She could literally watch this girl right here. She is killing it. I was gonna do what she was gonna do, but again, I'm having some issues, having problems. So I give her flowers for going in deep diving. She's killing it. She's killing it. I follow her on TikTok. I followed her when she put her TikTok tag out, but I haven't even watched none of her stuff. I'm dealing with some shit. But she is debunking the developing conspiracy that this guy is doing. Him and his friends and his so-called fake-ass attorney. Apparently his attorney sat on one of the interviews and he wasn't even dressed up like an attorney. So we don't even know if he really was an attorney. But if Candace want to see a real conspiracy at play, she needs to look at this Nolan Wells case. And I'm surprised. In fact, let's peep at this real quick, and then hold on. Let me open. Let's go in this one. So I was let's see.
Then you get these wavy wooden benches, which somehow manage.
I sat on those benches before. They're uncomfortable. Oops. Let's see if she's even talking. No, she is not speaking on Nolan Wells at all. And that's kind of a shame because she's usually on top of things like, and this is taking the social media by storm now. Even Chris Cuomo is on it now. And now he's interviewing this guy who's on it because Don Lemon was on it first. He was on it from day one. And then he jumps in on it to be on their side. And now he wants a piece of the action. So we're getting profile YouTubers. And I don't see Candace at all. That's what's crazy. It's like, where is her mind at? She's on it. You know what I'm saying? Like she's eating it alive, but she might as well be the defense attorney. She's killing it. And see, that's the attorney for the family. He doesn't even have all the evidence. That's what I wanted people to see. He's the defense attorney. He's a high-profile defense attorney. Y'all remember him from George Floyd. And he has no evidence from the state. The state gives them copies when they feel like, because they're trying to cover it up. Because they said the mother of one of the 20-year-olds or teens is I think she's a judge, and they said she was out there. Possibly. One of the parents or both, a lot of the parents are out there and they in on it. So here you go. There is no Candace Owens covering this at all. So if she wanted to say her conspiracy theory, I guess, or her intuition is legitimate, hey, look at Nolan Wells. This is a prime example that the evidence that they're presenting is hearsay also, which they are trying to make it hearsay, legit hearsay. If anybody following, if not, check it out. It's someone says it's gonna be a Netflix special. The way it's going into 2 months, yeah, it's gonna be a Netflix special. At the rate it's going. But we're gonna end the night. It's late. It's going on 2:30 here on the Pacific time. Hopefully everybody found this to be interesting. I'm not going to say it's enlightening because, like I said, it gave me brain rot. I mean, I struggled to get to this again. But hopefully I was able to break down her plot holes I felt was plot holes. And whether you agree with me or not, feel free to watch the whole debate. I will leave a link in the description and you can decide for yourself. I don't think it was worth even debating on something that's a year old, that they're just now starting to deliberate in court. Just like Majority's case, that happened, I think, 2 years ago, and they started deliberating his case last year. In fact, they had a trial recently. I think they were going to say he was going to plead guilty or something like that. I didn't want to watch it because he already said he was going to plead guilty. He wanted things to be known. He ain't tripping. You know, it is what it is. Whether he changed his mind once he hits 50 or 60, I don't know. Most people don't. You know, I don't know. But good morning to everybody who's on the East Coast. But hopefully this was an eye-opener about, you know, check your facts. Like, don't jump to conclusions. If it's okay to think. I'm going to be honest. It's okay to think. It's okay to draw your own conclusions and opinions. But if you're not sure and they're presenting evidence, regardless if you believe it or not, just keep that shit to yourself until the case is finalized. I mean, unless you're looking for clicks and views like Candace, like, keep that shit to yourself, because it's going to make you look bad. And to me, in my opinion, this looks bad. Now, again, a lot of people don't like neither one of them. They definitely don't like Andrew, so a lot of people going to take Candace's side because they've seen Andrew debate, and he's an asshole. I don't care for his debates at all, but I will say I give him credit for at least bringing evidence and doing the research to make sure he can back up what he believes. And when you see PBD barely wants to go along with what Candace says and his body language, and then he has to pull the resources up himself for her because she don't want to say fact check it, that's fucking bad. Like, yo, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to kill her reputation, but it sure as hell boosted his one way or another. 300K or not, but she's getting paid. 300K